It's the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in.
Really, it's about how you think. Okay, a lot of things is you're going to be able to achieve in your life or not achieve is going to be in your mind. So I always knew from a young age that I was going to be successful, married, have children, have a nice house. Like in the back of my mind, through my teens and 20s, somewhere in the recesses of my mind, I knew that. It was sort of like a subliminal vision. You know, you have a vision of where your life is going to go. And it's really all about what you're thinking, how your thoughts are. Your thoughts are going to determine your destiny and where you go. And I always knew I could go somewhere big. I mean, of course, there's grace. You got to, God was always watching over me. But at the same time, I had the right thought process about me. I always say that when you want to make a child successful, never look at them and say you're smart or you're dumb, because then they tie their success to something that's innate and they can't change, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't change if you're smart. You can't change if you're considered dumb. But if you tie their success to how hard they work, how focused they are, then all of a sudden, those are things that you can control.
Mm-hmm.
So if you tie your successes or child's failures or successes to things they can control, then you give them the opportunity to have hope and to have to build self-confidence. But if you tie it to them, so I'm very cautious about that. I always say if you work hard, you can do anything. And so it's all about your effort, and it's more motivation for you to do. And what you can change is what you can actually change. And if you can't change it, then you're stuck, and all of a sudden your confidence goes down and your self-esteem goes down, etc. So that was big for me when I was growing up, because I have a family. I have some siblings that are doing well. I have some siblings that aren't doing well. So it's biology. You can have the same parents and have two different outcomes. But if your mind is in a certain place, you can project yourself to success.
Absolutely. And something else you mentioned is you didn't purchase your first home till you were almost 30 years old. And I think that is something that's very significant as well, because a lot of times some people feel like if I don't do X by a certain age, I can't do it. And you mentioned also, like, you lived in about 18 different places, and you knew, and what you took from that was you knew how to be a tenant, and it also helped you when you got to that point to rent to others. You got a feel for what you wanted. So I think it's interesting how all of that ties in together.
That's right. It's very important, man. But with that piece, it's like everything won't happen in a microwave. Everything will happen quick, fast. I see a lot of young people right now looking at real estate and everything, money, Bitcoin, whatever it may be, and they want that magic. They want that boom right now. Oh, I want to invest in a company, and I want that company's stock to go through the roof right now. And it's like, the best friend of money is time. And people don't really realize the time aspect of money, because they want it quick. They want everything fast. But it takes time, man. Sometimes you gotta put in your dues, and everything has a season. And don't rush it. It'll take some time, but you got to put in the work. And a lot of times nowadays, man, a lot of people don't want to put in the work, but it takes some time.
For sure. So talk to us about that first property, just what that process was like, and tell us more about that. What that experience was like.
Yeah, that was interesting. Back about 1999, I kind of got into listening to some real estate guys. You probably haven't heard of Carlton Sheets. He was the no money down guy back in the late 90s, and he'd be doing these infomercials from his boat, and come on TV and talk about how he's closed hundreds of different transactions, and now all of a sudden he owns a bunch of real estate. And he sits back on his boat. So I kind of got into that no money down real estate. I started looking for ways when I was about in my late 20s to figure out, what can I do long term to have some passive income. So I looked into real estate. My very first transaction, I was looking around Kansas City, Missouri for some property to own. I said, hey, let me see what I can do. I don't have any money, but I've got some aspirations. And I ran into a real estate agent, and he happened to have a couple of homes himself. And so he said, hey, you know what, I'll sell you this home that I have, and I'll sell or finance it for you. So he owned it, I believe, free and clear. And it was a small 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and it had a squatter in there. So if you know what a squatter is, it's just somebody hanging out, living in an empty house with no utilities, you know, and they're just living there. But he said, you know what, I'll sell you the house, but you obviously got to get the squatter out of there and do all that, you know, all that leg work to get him out of there. So I said, you know, I'm excited. I'm young. I'm eager. I say, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and do this transaction, and I'll go ahead and work on getting the squatter out of there. Of course, when you walk up to a house and there's a squatter in there, and the squatter don't know you, you don't know what the squatter has. You know, I mean, if he's angry or she's angry or whatever, there's on drugs or whatever. But it was in a tough neighborhood too. So I went ahead and took it. I purchased the home from him, gave him a little bit of money down, maybe $500, $750 down. And lo and behold, he signed it over to me. I think I had to pay him like $150. I think he charged me $20,000 for the property. Mm-hmm. The property was an old, ran down property, but I was like, man, let's just do it. So it took me like 2 months to get the squatter out of there. And so I finally got the squatter out after talking to the squatter, trying to negotiate with the squatter. You know, I didn't call the authorities. I just worked it out with the squatter myself. Wow. Said, hey, you know, I bought this property. Can you go ahead and head out, and boom, boom. Okay, I'll give you a week. Get all your stuff. Get out of here. You know, I was trying to be nice to him. So squatter left. Next thing you know, I bought the property, and I think I started working on the property. I remember going to a bank and walking into the bank with a portfolio of stuff about what I want to do with the property, and asking the bank, can you refinance me? Because I wanted to be refinanced to get out of his deal so I could have a little money to fix it up. So I wanted them to refinance me so I could pay him his $20,000 and at the same time spend $5,000 or $10,000 maybe fixing the property up. Mm-hmm. So I wanted a $30,000 loan on the property. And so if you know about banks and loans, they don't like loaning money on $30,000 properties. That's just too low. But ultimately I walked into the bank and presented them with this plan of action I had, and they agreed to it. And they said, okay, we'll loan you $30,000 and we'll go ahead. And so I took that $30,000, I paid him 20, I took 10, and I did some refurbishing with the 10.
Are you looking for a community of like-minded individuals and access to experts in real estate? Yeah. Are you interested in real estate but need more support and guidance? You know who it is. The Black Real Estate Dialogue presents the Real Estate Investing Community. No matter how much or how little real estate experience you have, we've created a community for you because your perspective is important. All right, tell me, where's the #1 place where you can do Q&A with experienced guest speakers 2 times per month? How about unlimited access to past guest speakers' recordings? What about a private Slack channel to engage in daily discussion with everybody in the community to share resources and support each other? Head on over to blackrealestatedialogue.com. That's blackrealestatedialogue.com. It's the real estate investing community presented by the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Come join us today.
Tell us about Cloud Castle. You mentioned you ran into an old friend and kind of got things started. So talk to us more about that and just the early stages of the idea.
Yeah, the early stages, I give all credit to my co-founder, Brian Marks. And one of the things is that, you know, we had stayed in contact post-college. We had been in a lot of different group trips together. So we were good friends from college, but never before had thought about doing business together. However, he knew that I had the itch, which, you know, as you yourself an entrepreneur, that itch is something that you can't really get rid of unless you scratch it. Mm-hmm. And so he came along one day, we were just having drinks over happy hour, told me about this idea where he was trying to start a real estate platform to help people build their wealth who may not have the time or money to do so otherwise. And I loved it because, you know, one of the things is I've always wanted to get into real estate since I was in college where I met him. But there's this thing about real estate where you got to have tens of thousands of dollars to put your foot in the door. And especially if you're looking to invest and build wealth through real estate, a lot of people are left out because they don't have the means to do so. So even though I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, knew a lot about the space, I was always waiting for that moment to jump in with both feet. And then Cloud Castle presented itself, and it's something that, of course, I relate to, and I knew a lot of people did. So that's where the drive came to really build this out into a big company.
Definitely. And so for those who may not have heard about Cloud Castle, what it is, how they can use it, can you give an overview of that?
Yeah, Cloud Castles is a platform to help you build your wealth through snackable shares of short-term rentals. A lot of times people, as I mentioned earlier, may not have the money to buy real estate on their own. Or for those that do, you know, you maybe have a tech job or you're a doctor, lawyer, whatever have you, you probably don't have the time because you're working 60 to 80 hours per week. So what we do at Cloud Castles is we do all the hard work up front in terms of acquiring short-term rentals, renovating them. And then we do all the work on the back end in terms of listing and managing them so that you can come into our platform on a passive basis and invest in small shares. So we break down the total acquisition costs and we divide that by 10,000 to get to a share price that makes sense for our audience. So you get to come in, decide how much you want to invest, and you go from there. You own an asset, and you also get the advantage of being able to stay at a discounted rate. So we're live in Tahoe and we're live in Miami, and both have been doing pretty well. So, you know, our goal is to get a property in pretty much every city that allows Airbnb across the world. And we got our first two and hopefully can continue to scale from here.
Love it. I think that's an amazing idea. I do have some follow-up questions. So when it came to the idea, and once the company was started and it's like, okay, we want to get our first property to do this on, how did you land on that first location for the first short-term rental?
It's actually a funny story because when we started looking at properties, our first thought was Disney World, Orlando. Because you think about it, that's one of the top tourist destinations in the entire country. We were very, very close to getting an offer accepted, but then this thing that we all know called the pandemic happened. And it was literally the same week that we put in an offer, the world turned upside down. And we had to scramble and go back. Now, remember, this is March of last year, 2020. So the entire business model came to a screeching halt. So at that point, we were thinking, what do we do? Because no one's going out, no one's traveling. How would we even make money from this business? But what we realized is that over time, people started to get anxious about going out. And so we found out that what we call drivable distance vacations really took off towards the latter half of 2020. And us being from the Bay Area, Lake Tahoe is one of the top destinations for a lot of people in the Bay Area. And we saw the numbers were playing out. So that's where we decided we're going to plant our flag in terms of our first Cloud Castle on the platform. There's a crazy backstory even to getting that, but that's the basic idea of why we chose Lake Tahoe for our first property.
Got it. And at what point last year were you able to get the first property?
But we got it in August of 2020. Now, going into that crazy story, as you can also probably remember, bidding wars, which are still happening even in 2021, were in full effect. Even if we wanted a property, even if we had the funds to, because we bootstrapped our first property, we got outbid on 4 straight properties before we found the one that we found.
Wow.
And the only reason we even got that one is because of another startup in the real estate space called Fly Homes. I would recommend anyone listening to this, go check them out, either for your own personal property that you're thinking of buying, or if you're looking to get into real estate and you might have the funds and want to do it on your own. These guys are amazing because what they do is they turn your conventional offer into an all cash offer. They weren't even in Tahoe at the time that we were looking, but I cold emailed the founder of this company and he agreed to help us out because he saw we were trying to build our own business as well. And so we weren't even highest bid. Wow. That was the crazy part. I think we ended up bidding $30K over the asking price. Someone ended up bidding $45K over, but because our offer was all cash, it got accepted, and that led to our first launch of Cloud Castles. So, these are the tricks that we learned along the way in terms of being scrappy to get our company off the ground.
Hi everyone, Sam here from the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Make sure to hit that notification bell and that subscribe button, and to visit us at blackrealestatedialogue.com.